where will you go on a human rights mission? You will go in a place where there are human rights wrongs, and there are human rights wrongs everywhere. So it is an opportunity to go and visit some of these places and try to test some of the ideas that you have and see how they work in practice, what are their strengths, their weaknesses, their limitations, and so on and so forth. I basically teach courses in the area of international relations and international law. More specifically, courses in the theories and concepts of international relations, international human rights, international law and justice. I teach also more specialized graduate seminars on the laws of war, international crimes and tribunals, theories and concepts in international law and international relations. I grew up in a country which experienced a very severe form of a military dictatorship. And that was in Greece from 1967 to 1974. And I think that experience was a seminal event in my life because it alerted me very early on to the importance of democracy, the importance of living under a regime that respects human dignity, the rule of law, and is accountable to its citizens. That's where my interest in human rights and security converge in looking at what you might call more broadly human security issues, in a new understanding of security that would encompass all kinds of threats and challenges that may affect human welfare, other non-traditional threats relating to human rights violations, relating to extreme poverty and deprivation and so on and so forth, that would undermine people's ability to lead full lives. I say always to my students that this is also the period when you are in school to try to reach beyond your immediate self and your needs and things in broader terms. And this is particularly important when you live in a city like New York City, which is totally international. I mean, it's probably the most international city on earth, and students have a unique experience here in being able to discuss some of these issues, think about these issues, and try to do something about these issues, no matter where you come from, no matter which civilization, which state, which community you come from. Some of these values are universal values, and they relate to everybody. The opportunities for a professional engagement with these issues have proliferated. Of course, you can have an academic career in these issues. You can work in non-governmental organizations which are proliferating. You can work on international organizations which are expanding in the area of human rights and humanitarian issues. And also, you can work in these accountability mechanisms that I mentioned before, that we have a proliferation of international tribunals, special tribunals. We recently have the International Criminal Court. Clearly, the situation is very different from when I started as an undergraduate student seriously studying these issues. So there are more opportunities, more engagement, we have more information about what is happening in different parts of the world, and as far as I'm concerned, less excuses not to try to do something about it. We have a growing body of expertise in this institution, and I think we're becoming a key player in studying human rights and humanitarian issues and international crimes. It is important for students to remember that this is a very difficult and frustrating path, but also a path that can have quite important rewards at the end. There is no human being who has not gone through some experience in which their human dignity has been violated in some shape or form. So then the question comes, what are we going to do about it? The Center for International Human Rights was created in 2001, and the main purpose of the center was to study international human rights violations that have become international crimes, like crimes against humanity, genocide. The center has a purpose, an educational purpose, that is not only to conduct a research project in these areas, but also engage in outreach programs to increase awareness about the importance and relevance of international human rights norms and standards. We say in my field that we have learned, we hope at least that the the community of nations learns from some of these unfortunate experiences in the past when citizens have been brutalized by their governments, either in conflict or non-conflict situations, and hopefully this experience will not be repeated. It does. And we must be always alert and vigilant and do whatever we can to help whenever help is requested, to see what we can do at our end to offer some services, realizing of course that our role in the end is very marginal, because the most you can give in this situation, if you are asked to offer some recommendations to do that, it is up to the people of the country concerned and their government how they are going to address that situation. If you look at history, critical historical junctions like, for example, the freeing of the slaves, the civil rights movement in this country, the end of the apartheid regime in South Africa, the collapse of communism in Central and Eastern Europe, there were periods in the history of these countries that I have mentioned where people that were fighting for these causes felt that change will never happen, because it took generations for some of these changes to happen, okay? But in the end, they did happen. And why did they happen? Because there were many, many people that were prepared to pay a certain price, to make a certain commitment, to become engaged in order to fight for an end that they were not an achievement, the light, the proverbial light at the end of the tunnel, that they were not sure they were going to see it in their own lifetime. So change does happen. Maybe it does not happen as fast as we would like, as quickly as we would like it to come, but clearly the answer to that, or the response to that, is not to say just because I cannot see it in the immediate future I should not do anything about it, because if somebody adopts this kind of attitude, one thing is for sure, change will never happen.